Part 72. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 711. Goose Whitting strode to the sofa, hugged Shenyazi on his lap, inserted his hands into her hair, held her head, kissed her hard, and finally rubbed her lovingly with his fingertips. Her bright lips were glistening with water. Do you know where you went wrong? Shenyazi nodded timidly. I should have told you earlier. Goose Whitting looked unmoved. What else? Besides. Goose Whitting understood the look in her eyes. His eyes darkened, and there was a feeling of depression in his chest, which made him want to push her down on the sofa and punish her severely to let her know where she went wrong. He slowly moved his fingers downward, inspecting his territory inch by inch. Here, and here, all belong to me. His hands seemed to have magical powers, causing tremors deep in her body wherever they touched. Finally, he wrapped her soft jade-like hand in his and gently rubbed the back of her hand. You are all mine. Your hands, I can't bear to work them to cook for me, but you have to go and cook for me. Others make delicious food. Zhizzy, do you think you should be punished? Speaking of hatred, he brought her hand to his mouth and took a bite. After the bite, Shenyazi didn't feel it, but he felt distressed first. He licked her repeatedly to try to relieve her pain. Shenyazi only felt itchy and very hot. It's a little funny. It turns out that his series of actions were all due to overturning the jealousy tank. She put her arms around his neck and acted coquettishly. Okay, I know I was wrong. Can you forgive me as an adult? I will tell you if anything happens next time. When I finish recording the program this time, I will tell you when I come back. Treat you well. The word reward rolls on the tip of the tongue and spits out honey. It is a little more ambiguous and lingering for no reason, which arouses people's reverie. Goose Whitting's eyes immediately darkened. Goose Yao was squatting in the yard, playing with leaves to tease the ants out of boredom. He looked back at the door several times, but he didn't expect Shenyazi to come out. Alas, makes one's mind dim. I don't know who I'm talking about. Finally, when his feet were numb from squatting, Shenyazi finally came out. The lips are red and the eyes are moist, just like a delicate flower that has been moisturized. Tisk, tisk, I'm not sure what happened when his brother pinned him down in the room just now. Goose Whitting held Shenyazi's hand and took her to the car. Finally, he touched her face and said, call me when you get there. Okay. Shenyazi rubbed it into his palm. Goose Yao felt that he couldn't see anything. It is everyone's responsibility to care for animals, okay. He's been beaten hard enough as a bachelor, couldn't they just let him go? Watching the car speed away, Goose Whitting twirled his fingers, as if the touch of her skin still remained on them. After picking up Shenyazi, Goose Yao and Huo Jingj met at the airport and headed to the show together. The selling point of the program is wilderness and adventure and food and live broadcast, so naturally it cannot be held indoors. In this episode, the filming location selected by the program team is located in Fuxi Mountain in Baishui City, thousands of kilometers away. The filming props and other items are all ready, just waiting for people to arrive. After arriving at the place, Shenyazi found that Yan Ran and Wang Yuyi had already arrived. Yan Ran was sitting cross-legged in front of a temporary tent, playing games with gusto on her mobile phone. Wang Yuyi sat on the small bench helplessly, looking at him with her chin in her hands, her eyes unblinking. Hearing the commotion, Yan Ran looked up and saw Shenyazi and others arriving. She stopped playing games, put her mobile phone in her pocket, and strode over to say hello to them. Zhizzy, you are here. Wang Yuyi followed and stood in his shadow, looking unhappy. Why did you come here? We have been waiting for a long time. As a qualified dandy, Goose Yao has not developed the nerve to pity women and cherish jade yet. Hearing this, he responded unceremoniously, who told you to come so early? Wang Yuyi's pretty face was angry, and she was about to fight back when she saw Yan Ran's frown. She immediately put out the fire and glared at several people, especially Shen Yizi. Shen Yizi doesn't dislike this kind of girl who has her good and evil preferences written on her face. Even if he was glared at, he just laughed it off. However, in Wang Yi's eyes, she just thought she was pretending. She hates this kind of pretentious woman the most. What surprised Shen Yizi was that the chief director of this show was actually Huo Jingge, a young man who, in her opinion, was as out of place as Gu Xiao. After seamlessly switching to the role of director, Huo Jingge looked around the scene with great momentum and told his assistant, check to see if everyone is here. There are a total of 8 guests on this show. Shen Yizi, Yan Ran, Wang Yi, Gu Xiao, Qin Jin, Zhao Song, Ji Chen and a food expert. Except for the food expert, Shen Yizi discovered that all the guests on this show were actually known to him. Not to mention Yan Ran and Gu Xiao, Ji Chen also worked with him on the crew of The Power of Heaven before. In this way, the feeling of strangeness is reduced a bit. After counting the number of people, the assistant discovered that Ji Chen and the food expert had not arrived yet. But just as Cao was about to arrive, a domineering Hummer drove over, made a beautiful turn, and stopped steadily in the open area. The masculine and handsome Ji Chen got out of the car and walked towards the group of people with long legs. Sorry, I'm late. Ji Chen smiled apologetically, but when he saw Shen Yizi, his eyes lit up and he walked straight over. As soon as he raised his smile, a person came in front of him. But it was Gu Xiao who was called to the study by Gu Switting to educate him alone for a while before leaving. The eldest brother has said that this time he will be given a chance to atone for his sins. During the recording of the program, no male will be allowed to approach Zizi, otherwise he will bear the consequences. Thinking of his elder brother's methods, he felt a chill on the back of his neck. How dare he refuse to agree? Just talk, why are you so close? Gu Xiao looked Ji Chen up and down. Well, he was actually a bit taller than him, but still a few points shorter than his eldest brother. In terms of appearance, he is not as good as his eldest brother. As far as he is concerned, there is no one here who can compare to his elder brother, and I don't know how nervous he is. Ji Chen naturally saw Gu Xiao's vigilance and rejection of him, smiled good-naturedly, took a step back, and asked Shen Yizi how he was doing these days. After chatting for a few words, there was movement at the entrance again. A high-end and elegant RV drove over. The RV looked like a moving castle and immediately attracted everyone's attention. Who is this? You came to a show and drove a RV? Is it necessary to be so exaggerated? The RV is too big, but fortunately, a wide open space has been opened around it to accommodate the vehicle, the program crew, and various props. So the RV reluctantly drove in. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but the RV stopped right next to the Hummer. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 712. Ji Chen's Hummer originally had a strong visual effect and looked quite domineering, but now it was compared to the RV and it suddenly made him look shorter. A glint flashed across Ji Chen's eyes, the corners of his mouth turned up, and his smile was somewhat meaningful. A man dressed casually got out of the car, with an elegant and graceful demeanor. When he stood there, everything around him became extraordinary. The man didn't look very outstanding, but he looked very comfortable and eye-catching. Shen Yizi couldn't help but take a second look. The man happened to look over. The moment their eyes met, Shen Yizi's heart moved. This man gave her the feeling is so familiar. Huo Jingge walked up and said, "Okay, now that everyone is here, let me introduce to you. This is Mr. Zhu Dingshenzu, who is famous in the food industry. Even though he is not very old, he is a gourmet who has tasted all kinds of food. Critics may have tasted dozens of times more food than everyone present combined. If I hadn't had a good relationship with Mr. Zhu, he might not have agreed to record the show. Once everyone has arrived, Everyone rests on the spot for an hour. The staff also arranges the venue, and the program officially begins. Huo Jingj is not only the general director of the program team, responsible for coordinating the entire event, but also serves as the host. Other than him, no one else, including Gu Xiao, knew the flow of the program. When the camera was focused on him and a group of guests, Huo Jingj was instantly possessed by the soul of the host and gave a rather funny opening remarks. Let everyone introduce themselves one by one. Since it was a live broadcast, not many people watched it at first, but there were still a few. Seeing that all the guests on this show were so good looking, the barrage immediately started flying. Holy shit, these guys are so handsome, I've confirmed their eyes, they are my type. Originally I just randomly clicked in to take a look, but I didn't expect that I fell in love with it and became a fan because of its good looks. Isn't that Mr. Gu? How could he come to participate in such an unknown program? Ah, I'm going crazy, why is my brother here too? Also, I know beautiful people. I could see Ran Ran and Hizzy in the same frame at the same time, so I decided to eat another bag of potato chips. Who is that handsome man standing next to Gigi? He has a good temperament, but why did he only look at Gigi the whole time? Could it be? I am the goddess Xiao Yuer. This is indeed a fan of Wang Yi. Xiao Yuer is the nickname given to her by her fans. Seeing so many beautiful faces at the same time, I can go 3 days without washing my eyes. I envies Hizzy and Xiao Yuer so much that they are surrounded by so many young brothers with their own characteristics. The little monkey from Zhizhijia rewarded a cruise ship. My brother's wife rewarded me with 999 roses. Xiao Yuer's baby rewarded 520 diamonds. The first tip seemed to set off some kind of signal, followed by a series of tips that flooded the live broadcast screen. Because of Yan Ran's powerful summoning power, a large wave of viewers quickly flooded into the live broadcast room. The popularity quickly exceeded 5 million, and the number of viewers was also growing at a terrifying speed: 300,000, 1 million, 5 million, 10 million. Luckily, the server of the live broadcast platform is powerful and the technical guy is also very capable. Otherwise, with so many people crowding in, the live broadcast room might not be paralyzed. Most of the audience were originally attracted by Yan Ran, but when they came in, they found that there's Hizzy Beauty and the goddess Xiao Yuer were also there, as well as several very good-looking young brothers, and they immediately went crazy. Fans were simply caught up in a carnival, running around shouting and calling for friends. Seeing that the number of viewers in the live broadcast room exceeded 50 million. It's been less than 10 minutes since it started airing. The conversion rate of this traffic is so high that it is shocking. The live broadcast platform is a subsidiary of Huo Group. Huo Jingj himself was a little surprised to see the traffic of this live broadcast he planned soaring so fast. However, he is a well-informed man, so naturally he will not be frightened by such a small battle. So he continued to host the show very calmly. Next, let me introduce the process of the show. Our food fight is divided into literary fight and martial fight. The first is literary fight. The rule is that our 8 guests are divided into 2 groups and have a food question and answer. Each time they answer a question correctly, get 1 point, and the team with more points at the end wins. The outcome of the literary battle is related to the subsequent martial arts battle. The winning team will get 5 prompt words and enter the martial arts venue 10 minutes early. So, which group will win in the end? Let's let the guests draw lots first. Huo Jingj took an open transparent glass bottle, and in front of the guests and many spectators present, he threw 8 identical small into the bottle one after another. These 8 were 4 red and 4 blue. When the time comes, the same would be touched. People of different colors are divided into the same group. After throwing the ball in, Huo Jingj pretended to shake it, and then took a black cover to cover the bottle to prevent the person who wanted to draw lots from seeing what was inside. After finishing, Huo Jingj asked, "Who comes first?" The 6 male guests all looked at Shen Yizi and signaled to let her go first. Wang Yi was furious. As one of the only girls among the guests, why could these people only see Shen Yizi? Others were fine, but Yan Ran was also like this. She was angry and bitter, and blurted out, "Why should she come first? If she wants to come, I should come first." She glanced sideways at Shen Yizi, stepped forward without hesitation, and put her hand into the glass bottle. After groping for a while, she grabbed a red ball. The bright red ball looked festive, and it was a good start. Wang Yi's face looked better, and she gave Shen Yizi a proud look. "Wow, haha, why does Xiao Yuer keep looking at Gigi? Could it be that she likes Gigi? The look from upstairs is obviously provocative. I think I smell something unusual." Xiao Yuer's domineering little eyes made my heart tremble when I saw her. I really wanted to go to the show. "Have you noticed just now that all the 6 male guests looked at Zizi, ha 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 ha, and laughed unkindly? Who will Brother Buletinzayaran be paired with? I'm really looking forward to it." It is already known that Wang Yi likes Yan Ran, but Yan Ran seems to be closer to Shen Yizi. If the 3 of them are grouped together, haha, then there will be a good show. After Wang Yi, Shen Yizi stepped forward and drew a blue ball. They are of different colors, indicating that the 2 people belong to different camps. They became rivals from the very beginning, and the excitement that followed seemed predictable. Next, several male guests stepped forward to touch the ball. Gu Xiao was not a man who would give in. He rushed to the table with glass bottles first, clasped his hands and prayed, "If it's a blue ball, a blue ball, a blue ball." While chanting, he put his hand into the mouth of the bottle. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 713. Shen Yizi couldn't help but feel a little funny when he saw him like that. He reached into the bottle with his consciousness and turned it around. He found that his hand grabbed a blue ball and put it down. Then he grabbed a red ball and then put it down hesitantly. Choosing and choosing, Zhao Song, who was still waiting to touch the ball, got impatient and rushed up to push him away. "Gu Xiao, you've been thinking about it for so long and you still haven't chosen it. Okay, it's either blue or red. What's so confusing? Get out of the way and let me do it." When Gu Xiao was pushed away, he subconsciously grabbed a ball, took it out and saw it was a blue ball. "Ha ha ha, blue ball, great, I can be in the same group as Zizi." He rushed to Shen Yizi and held up the blue ball to show her, as if offering a treasure. "Zizi, look at it, the blue ball." Shen Yizi's mouth twitched slightly. "Well, congratulations." At this time, the audience in front of the screen was laughing crazy. "Ha ha 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 ha, second young master, do you want to be so funny? He worked very hard to be in the same group as Zizi. I think if Zhao Song hadn't pushed him, he would still be struggling there. Look at Yan Ran, his expression lights up." The camera immediately gave Yan Ran a close-up, with "I'm so sorry but I still have to keep smiling" clearly written on his face. Here Gu Xiao was as happy as Ha, but over there Zhao Song was not so happy. Obviously he also wants to touch the basketball. Okay. The result was a red ball, which unintentionally helped Gu Xiao. Zhao Song squatted aside holding the red ball resentfully. Wang Yi's chest bulged with anger after seeing it. What's this guy's expression like? Was he aggrieved when he drew a red ball and was assigned to her group? It's not that she really hopes that he can be in her group. She wants only her brother Ran to be in her group, but she doesn't want him to be in the same group. Zhao Song's clear expression of rejection is very painful to her lungs. Snort. Sure enough, it was brother Ran who won her heart the most. However, the next second she was slapped in the face. Yan Ran touched the red ball. This was originally something that made her very happy, but what happened to his expression that he wanted to touch it again? What happened? Is she a savage beast? Everyone avoids her so much. How hateful. Wow, Xiao Yuer is angry. It's so cute when Xiao Yuer turns into a pufferfish when she's so angry. Brother Ran, go and coax our little Yuer, she needs your love and care. If Wang Yi knew about these barrages, I'm afraid she would be even more angry. Fans like me are all fake. There were 3 people present who did not touch the ball. Zhu Dingsheng and Ji Chen looked at each other, and in a flash of lightning, they had reached an agreement. Zhu Dingsheng nodded slightly, indicating that he was not in a hurry to let Qin Jing go first. Ji Chen also made a gesture of invitation. In this case, Qin Jin was not polite. He walked forward and looked at Huo Jingj calmly. Huo Jingj winked at him, indicating that everything was taken care of by him. Qin Jin put his hand into the mouth of the bottle, and a ball rolled into his hand. However, when he took it out and looked at it, he subconsciously looked at Huo Jingj, where was the basketball he had agreed to? Why did it turn into a red ball? But he saw the same astonished look on his face. Huo Jingj was confused at the moment. The grouping seemed fair and transparent, but how could it be fair in fact? Their original intention of organizing this program was to allow Qin Jin to eat his delicious food in an open and honest manner. So Qin Jin is destined to touch the ball of the same color as Shen Yizi. It all comes down to Goose Whitting, the devil, who treats Yizi like an eyeball, and is extremely possessive. In order to achieve their goal, they can only go around in such a big circle. Others are invited by them, even though they themselves don't know it. However, why didn't things go according to the script? What went wrong? No matter what, the results have come out, and it is impossible for Qin Jin to touch it again in full view of everyone. Huo Jingj patted Qin Jin on the shoulder and gave him a comforting look. As long as you are on the show, you can always eat delicious food made by Gigi. Qin Jin's self-restraint skills are much better than Gu Xiao's. Although he was disappointed in his heart, he didn't show any trace of it on his face. He walked towards Wang Yi calmly, indicating that they were on the same side from now on. Seeing this, Wang Yi looked satisfied and smiled at him. Zhao Song finally stopped feeling so depressed. He ran over and threw his arms around Qin Jin's shoulders. Finally, I'm not alone anymore. Qin Jin glanced at him and let him hang on him, the smile on his face unconsciously deepened. In the end, only Zhu Dingsheng and Ji Chen were left. But the 4 red have been touched out, and the remaining ones are all blue balls. You can know the result without touching them. Huo Jingj grabbed the 2 blue from the glass bottle and threw them in his hand. Okay, the blue team and the red team have been separated. Please return to your seats. People from both the red and blue teams stood on a white line that had already been drawn. 100 meters in front of the white line, there stood a lonely door with a sci-fi color. This door is the entrance to the fighting place. Which team of people reaches the door first will be the first to enter. Between the white line and the door, there are square grids. Huo Jingj said, let me talk about the rules again. Next, I will give a question. You 2 teams will rush to answer the questions. The one with the correct answer can move forward 1 space, and the one with the wrong answer can go back 1 space. The first one to reach the end will get 5 prompt words. Enter the door first. Okay, let's start the fight. Please listen to the questions. Question 1, when and who invented tofu? Shen Yizi didn't even need to think about it and answered directly, Luan of the Western Han Dynasty. Huo Jingj quickly clapped his hands several times, correct answer. Next question, is the king of milk called cow's milk or goat's milk? As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Yi rushed to answer, milk. After answering, he glanced at Shen Yizi, his delicate little chin raised high. Huo Jingj, I'm sorry that the answer is wrong. Wang Yi. How is it possible? If it's not cow's milk, can't it be goat's milk? Huo Jing smiled and said, you know it's too late. Please ask the red team to move back one space. As a result, the red team not only failed to move forward, but also retreated outside the white line. The difference between this advance and retreat is only 2 spaces. Wang Yuyi stamped her foot angrily. How could the king of milk be goat milk? No one drinks goat milk at all, okay. She has been drinking milk since she was a child. If the king of milk is goat's milk, then why does everyone drink cow's milk instead of drinking it? There must be something shady about this show. Unconvinced, Wang Yuyi opened Baidu on her mobile phone and found out. According to nutrition experts, goat milk contains 64 types of lactic acid, 20 types of amino acids, 20 types of vitamins, and 25 types of minerals. It is recognized as the milk product closest to human milk in the world and is known as the king of milk. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 714. The fat particle volume of goat milk is 1/3 that of cow's milk, which is easier for the body to absorb, and long-term drinking of goat milk will not cause obesity. The vitamins and trace elements in goat milk are significantly higher than that of cow's milk. Some countries M&O regard goat milk as a nutritional product. The price of fresh goat milk in O continent is 7 times that of cow's milk. From Baidu. Wang Yuyi silently put away her phone. In the short period of time she went to Baidu, the blue team had answered 2 questions correctly and advanced 2 spaces. As for the red team, they were still standing still. Why are you so unsatisfied? Wang Yuyi was angry at the team members for not wanting to live up to their expectations. Zhao Song rolled his eyes, then what can be done? Who makes Hizzy so smart? Who makes their blue team have a big gourmet? I only know how to eat. As for the answers to those food questions, how do I know? This is true, but don't be too confident. However, Wang Yuyi couldn't refute, because she seemed to be like this too. This is embarrassing. Wang Yuyi couldn't help but look towards Yan Ran, hugged his arm and shook it. Brother Ran. I really have goosebumps coming out. Zhao Song quickly pulled Qin Jin away from him. Stop talking, or I won't hear the host's voice. Yan Ran took his hand away and stared at Huo Jing seriously. Brother Ran's serious face is so cute. Cute, miss the sun. To be honest, if this show wasn't live, I would have doubted Hizzy Baidu. How come she knows everything? It's so amazing. Same upstairs. As a foodie, I don't know a lot of food knowledge, I only know how to eat, alas. Every time Shen Yazi answers a question, he answers it in seconds. How fake is this? He must be cheating. I also wonder if the program team revealed the answer to her in advance. Don't spray there if you are ignorant. That is, we know that people are beautiful and smart, but why do we envy, and hate them? One group thought that Shen Yazi had cheated, and the other group supported her unswervingly. The 2 groups started fighting in the live broadcast room, making the food program a mess. Upon receiving this situation, Huo Jing raised his eyebrows. How dare you question the authority of their program? Look at how he slaps these ignorant people in the face. After fighting for such a long time, both the red and blue teams must be a little tired, so let's take a break and resume the program in 10 minutes. During the intermission, I want to interview us Hizzy. Shen Yazi sat down cross-legged on the ground, and Huo Jing also sat down. The red team sneaked over. Hizzy, in the same 9th year, how do you show off? Shen Yazi. What kind of divine expansion is this? Her confused look made many people laugh. Haha, Hizzy, you are so cute. Huo Jing smiled heartily, with a clean smile and white teeth, which was quite contagious. In someone's eyes, it is an eyesore. Huo Jing then changed the subject. Hizzy, many viewers are skeptical about your excellence. What do you think of this? Shenyazi said, I can't help it, I'm just so good. Ha ha ha, I feel like some people may cry. I have an idea that can shut up those who doubt you. I also have an idea. The two looked at each other in tacit understanding, and Huo Jingj said, let's talk about it. The next question will be asked by the audience. If the question is chosen, corresponding rewards will be given. In this way, those people will not suspect that everyone has been bribed by our program, right? Zhizi and I have gone to the same place, so let's do this next. In an instant, the netizens watching the live broadcast were excited. They came to come up with questions for their idols to answer. You can have this. The power of netizens is powerful, and a lot of food questions were quickly posted, along with their answers. After the break, Huo Jingj has received no less than 100 representative and interesting questions, which were screened by the backstage staff, otherwise there would be more. Wen Do continued, Huo Jingj, question 10, when is it more appropriate to add tea leaves when making tea eggs? Why? Shenyazi, after the eggs are cooked and cracked, when the water temperature drops slightly, add tea leaves and seasonings to soak, because the tea making temperature should be 80–90 degrees, at this time the aroma of the tea leaves can be maximized. Correct answer. Huo Jingj, when making carrot syrup, how can we extend the coagulation time and make the silk longer? Shenyazi, add alum as big as a grain of rice. Huo Jingj, what kind of food is written about by Baijuyi, the great poet and foodie of the Tang dynasty? Crispy noodles freshly baked with oily fragrance. Shenyazi, Hu cake. Huo Jingj, what do the four ministers in Sichuan Tang refer to? Shenyazi, Huaishan, Gorgon, lotus seeds, Poria. This literary fight almost became a show for Shenyazi alone. Although netizens came up with the questions in the second half, it still had little impact. As teammates of the blue team, Gu Xiao and the others only had to shout 666 from the side. As for the red team, they can only watch helplessly as the blue team rides away, getting farther and farther away from their own side. The camera gave a close-up of the red team members, and Life Without Love was the best portrayal of them at this moment. The fight in the live broadcast room was perfectly resolved and there is harmony now. The literary fight is coming to an end, which is a bitter experience for Huo Jingj, who is the host. I kept talking until my throat started to smoke. I asked you, the red team, can you get some energy, can't you take a few more steps forward to save me some effort? His words were heard through the microphone, and Wang Yi looked aggrieved and angry. She thinks about it too. However, the local fighting power is too strong, and there is nothing she can do. That scene made many netizens burst into laughter and took screenshots as a souvenir. This picture can provide them with laughter for a whole year. The final result is of course self-evident. The blue team won with an overwhelming advantage. Wang Yi could no longer even get angry. Zhao Song had a droopy head, but Qin Jin was very calm and patted his head, don't be discouraged. The purpose of our participation in the show is not to win or lose. Right? Thinking of this, Zhao Song immediately regained his energy and looked forward with interest. At the entrance, Huo Jingj said, congratulations, you have reached the entrance first, but what I want to tell you is that this door is not an ordinary door, but a space door. Hearing this, Ji Chen's eyes flashed. Shen Yazi asked, Space Gate? It's not what I thought, is it? Huo Jingj nodded seriously, it's just what you think. When you pass through this door, you will appear in another space, and that is the venue for your fight. I don't know what that space is exactly like. It could be barren deserts, cold glaciers, dangerous jungles, uninhabited islands, spring-like valleys all year round, in short, everything is possible. And what you need to do is to find ingredients to make delicious food according to the requirements of the program team. In order to face emergencies, you need to choose some equipment. As the winning group, you can get 5 prompt words. These 5 prompt words will help you choose more useful equipment. While Huo Jingj was saying this, people from the red team also came over. After hearing this, they called out that it was unfair. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 715. Why do they get 5 prompt words? This is not fair. Wang Yuyi almost burst into tears. Huo Jingj was so angry that she couldn't refute him, who told them to win. Wang Yuyi held it in for a while. Seeing that Yan Ran's teammates were not facing her at all, she felt ashamed and angry and blurted out, "I want to quit the show." Huo Jingj didn't accept her tactics at all, and immediately shouted outside the court, "Xiao Yang, find someone to take over right away." Xiao Yang is his assistant. He is also a wonderful person and immediately agreed, "Okay." The camera turned in a different direction and captured Xiao Yang's back as he ran to find someone. When he turned back again, what appeared on the screen was Wang Yuyi's angry, anxious, ashamed, and embarrassed face. However, the audience laughed unkindly. The bullet screens are full of long or short ha 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 ha. Wang Yuyi said those words out of anger, but out of her wits. Yan Ran is still here, how can she be willing to leave? But what has been said, how should we step down now? She looked at Yan Ran pitifully. Just be patient, how can the show continue after you leave? Yan Ran finally couldn't bear it and handed her a step over. Wang Yuyi laughed through her tears and hugged his arm, "I knew brother Ran couldn't bear to leave me." He rested his head on his shoulder, acting like a sweet little girl. Yan Ran sighed deeply in his heart. Okay, go back and spread the dog food. Don't get in the way here." Huo Jingj couldn't bear it and waved the two of them aside, cleared his throat, and was about to read out the prompt word when he found that the people from the red team were still there. Exist. Hey, what are you doing here? Are you able to hear this prompt? The blue team won this with their strength. If you don't want to listen, don't listen. Who cares? Wang Yuyi pulled Yan Ran away and ran away. Zhao Song, on the other hand, turned around 3 times with one step. He rarely listens. Ahem, listen up. These 5 prompt words are critical to your next actions: ice, snow, low temperature, white knight, and beast. Okay, go to the warehouse over there and choose what you want to bring. Limited to 5 items per person. The warehouse was built in advance by the program team. It is filled with all kinds of supplies, with a wide variety of materials, from food to sanitary napkins, from kettles to weapons. From this warehouse, it can be seen that the program organization is inhumane. After entering, Shen Yi knew, "What do you think of the 5 prompt words just now?" Gu Xiao said, "Let me talk about ice and snow first. This must refer to the environment inside. It may be ice and snow, a vast expanse of white. Low temperature means that the temperature inside is very low and very cold. This also corresponds to the previous 2 prompt words. So we have to try our best to choose something warm, such as this defensive suit. Although it looks a bit ugly, it has a great thermal effect." He pulled out a large bundle of tightly packed defensive clothing from the shelf next to him. The defensive clothing came in 2 colors, yellow and blue. This was also because these 2 colors were more conspicuous in the ice and snow. "Let's choose the blue one. We happen to be the blue team. What a match." The defensive uniforms were decided upon, 1 set for each person. The next few people discussed and one of them chose a sleeping bag and a multifunctional Swiss Army knife. That's it for 3 things. The remaining 2 items depend on personal preference. Shen Yizi chose a foldable multifunctional cabinet. It looks like the size of a suitcase, but when unfolded it is actually as big as a dining table, where you can cook, place kitchen utensils, and eat. Although the size is small, the weight is not light, weighing dozens of kilograms more. The program is called Fighting Food, and the focus is on this fighting. The previous literary battle was a food quiz competition, but the martial arts part will probably require them to actually cook some delicious food. So kitchen utensils are essential. This foldable multifunctional cabinet quite satisfies Shenyazi's requirements. After shopping around, she chose another lighter. The manual said that this lighter was invulnerable to water and fire, and could withstand level 5 strong winds. It was considered a fighter among lighters. With a lighter, you have a stable source of fire. 5 things are done. The last 4 people met at the door and reported what they had chosen. Gu Xiao chose a backpack and a snack gift bag. Shenyazi was also drunk, but thinking that this was just an entertainment outdoor adventure program and not a real adventure, he let him go. Ji Chen chose a bow and arrow and a pot of wine. Bows and arrows can be used for hunting, wine can keep out the cold, and the jug can be used again after drinking. This choice is much more reliable than Gu Xiao. What surprised Shenyazi was that Zhu Dingsheng, a gourmet, actually chose a tent and a pack of sanitary napkins. Under the strange gazes of the other 3 people, Zhu Dingsheng remained calm and composed, but it made Shenyazi and the other 2 people seem more strange. Everyone is free to choose whatever they choose, and others have nothing to criticize. However, Shenyazi silently stayed away from Zhu Dingsheng. Zhu Dingsheng saw it, his eyes darkened, and he chuckled, "Since we are a team, we must have a captain. This way we can coordinate the resources in the team and complete the task as soon as possible." Shenyazi paused, "Then who do you think is better as captain?" Zhu Dingsheng looked at her with a soft face and dark eyes that seemed to be able to absorb people's hearts. Shenyazi's heart skipped a beat when he saw him. This feeling. Gu Xiao thought that he proposed the captaincy just so that he could become the captain, but instead he recommended Shenyazi. The words he had prepared were choked in his throat, and he touched his nose angrily. "I also supports Hizi becoming the captain." After speaking, he glanced at Ji Chen, and the meaning was already obvious. Ji Chen smiled and said, "I think there is no one more suitable to be the captain than Hizi. After entering, please take care of me, Captain's Hizi." Zhu Dingsheng glanced at him coolly. Shenyazi didn't refuse, he was just the captain of a gourmet adventure team. But now that the captain has become the captain, how can it be justified if he doesn't exercise some power? "Gu Xiao, come here, the organization has given you an important task. You will be responsible for this cupboard. Don't lose it. Whether we can eat hot meals after entering depends on it." "Huh? Isn't it?" Gu Xiao looked at the guy at his feet and let out a cry. In order to travel light, he deliberately only chose a backpack and snacks. After all, he was here to play, why should he add burden to himself? In the end, Zizi actually handed him this stupid thing weighing dozens of kilograms. Did he shoot himself in the foot? The moment he stepped into the door, Shenyazi felt like he was crossing space. Obviously it was still a hot early autumn outside the door, but inside the door was a world of white snow and ice, just as Gu Xiao had guessed before. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 716. For Shenyazi, this feeling is not unfamiliar, it is similar to when she enters and exits the Star Palace, so this is also a separate small world. It seems that Huo Jing arranged the venue. Do you want to be so treacherous? It actually provides a small world for them to live broadcast the program. As far as she knows, small worlds should be very rare, at least not so common. Why did she encounter 2 in a short period of time? You have to ask Huo Jing when you go out. Wow! Did this go from summer to winter in an instant? Did we enter a space door? Gu Xiao was very surprised, and even thought he had an illusion. He wanted to retreat outside the door and come in again to see was he hallucinating? It turned out that the door had disappeared. Several people were in the vast world of ice and snow, looking at each other. What kind of black technology is this? Gu Xiao murmured. In the mid-air not far away from these people, there is a technological sphere suspended in the air, the size of a table tennis ball. It is currently the most advanced live broadcast device in the world, and can broadcast everything that happens here to these people in real time. At this moment, Gu Xiao's surprised expression appeared in the live broadcast room. Holy shit, what's going on? There are two completely different worlds inside and outside the door. How is this done? Is it really a live broadcast? I just took a drink of water, why did the scene change all of a sudden? The camera changes and Huo Jingji appears in front of the camera. Ha 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 ha, are you all curious about this scene? The audience was waiting for him to reveal the secret, but he said, then you can continue to be curious, I will not tell you the answer. The blue team has now officially entered the martial arts stage, and where is our red team? The camera turns to Wang Yuyi and others. Frustration.jpg. The atmosphere in the red team is very low. You can't do this. Although we lost the last civil battle, there is still hope for the military battle. Come on, smile. Yan Ran smiled at the camera with dignity, her smile was bright and healing, which instantly caused a wolf howl. 20 minutes later, Huo Jingji watched the four figures from the red team enter the door and turned around. Okay, the fighting session of our fighting program group has officially begun. The theme of this issue, Snow Country on the tip of the tongue. Since it's a fight, there must be a mission. Let me see what their mission is. Snow Country is the small world where Shen Yizi and others are now. 20 minutes passed, and the few people no longer felt the novelty at the beginning, but began to think about this fighting. Suddenly, the instrument they wore on their wrists made a beeping sound. This instrument is very similar to a watch. It was given to them by the program team before they came in and asked them to wear it. The blue key is used to contact teammates, and the red key is the rescue key. After pressing it, they can be sent out of the snow country immediately, but it also means he gave up the fight. Several people looked at the instrument at the same time, and several lines of words were displayed on the screen. The fighting has officially begun. Your journey of fighting for food has begun. The following is the task time. The first task, ask the red and blue teams to find a cave for rest within an hour. There will be rewards for completing tasks, and there will be consequences for failure. Shen Yizi, the host, gave us 5 prompt words before, one of which was beast, which shows that it is not completely safe here, and there may be wild beasts, so the first step requires us to find a cave, which is also for our safety. Let's set off. Ji Chen suggested, we also explored it after we came in just now. This place is not small, and it is even very large. 1 hour is too short, so why don't we search separately? After we find it, we will inform others. What do you think? Shen Yizi looked at Zhu Dingsheng subconsciously. Okay, I'll go with Zizi. Ji Chen's expression was slightly cold, and then he said jokingly, Mr. Zhu, don't you like Zizi? You will do everything with her. Mr. Zhu can't be married at this age, right? We Zizi are still studying. Where's the university? This meaning is very obvious. You are an old cow, so don't try to chew the young grass like Gigi. Zhu Dingsheng raised his eyebrows and said, oh, unfortunately, I am still single. Zizi is still young, but I am willing to wait for her. Ji Chen couldn't even keep smiling. A faint smell of gunpowder filled the air. Gu Xiao is unhappy, these two are looking for a beating. Zizi is his brother's man, why are these two joining in the fun? You must be sick. Zizi, let's go and ignore these two guys. Gu Xiao took Shen Yizi and left. As a result, before he could even touch her, Zhu Dingsheng pulled her over and held her in his arms with a domineering attitude of absolute possession. Shen Yizi was stunned. He wanted to struggle out, but he smelled an all too familiar smell. This is clearly. She raised her eyes bright, and her eyes were full of joy and anticipation. Zhu Dingsheng touched her head and looked at her with gentle eyes. Shen Yizi was instantly sure that it was really him. Goosewitting. But his method of disguising himself was so clever that she had never noticed it before. Not only the face, but also the height, voice, and body shape have changed. Gu Xiao saw the two of them like this and exploded, "Hey! I'm warning you, let me go Zhi quickly." The audience watching the live broadcast was also excited. Isn't Shen Yizi with our CEO Gu, why is he with Zhu Dingsheng again, does this woman want billion? Look at this man's love for his concubine, Shen Yizi knows that he is treading two boats, and there is no explanation for turning from pink to black. I've long been unhappy with this woman, she's so scheming at a young age, wandering among all kinds of men, get out of the entertainment industry. Isn't this show a gimmick of food and adventure? Who are these people invited? Do they have any professional qualities? Don't watch it, it's a waste of time. For a time, various messages directed at Shen Yizi and the program flooded the screen. Huo Jingzhe frowned and secretly ordered the camera to turn to the red team's Wang Yuyi and others. It happened to capture the scene of Zhao Song falling headlong into the snow. The snow was half a meter thick. After Zhao Song fell in, his legs were dangling, and he couldn't pull himself out for a long time. Ha 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 ha, little brother, do you want to laugh me to death? I was drinking water and I spat it out. Fortunately I didn't quit, otherwise I would have lost 100 million. Qin Jin looked at Zhao Song's stupidity and had no choice but to step forward and get him out. Looking at his pitiful appearance with snow on his face and his nose turned red from the cold, Qin Jin couldn't bear to ignore him. He wiped the snow off of him and held his hand and rubbed it. Wang Yuyi looked hot and pouted, walked up to Yan Ran, stretched out her hands, said nothing, and just looked at him eagerly. What? Wang Yuyi bit her lower lip angrily and simply put her hand into his pocket. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 717. Yan Ran thought she was going to launch a sneak attack and pushed her away. Wang Yuyi's feet were unsteady and she sat down on the snow. It doesn't hurt, it's just too embarrassing. There are so many spectators watching. She doesn't want to lose face. This soul is weak. I feel aggrieved. Wang Yuyi burst into tears. Yan Ran's expression froze and she squatted down in front of her. Okay, I didn't mean to do it. Stop crying. There are so many people watching. The live broadcaster turned to Wang Yuyi and gave her a close-up of her face. Wang Yuyi stopped crying instantly, but because she stopped too quickly, she accidentally burped. It's a shame. At this moment, Wang Yuyi only had these three words in her mind. She covered her face and ran into Yan Ran's arms. When the camera turned back to the blue team again, the conflict had been resolved, and the four Shen Yizi walked together peacefully. At this time, 40 minutes have passed. Where is the cave? I've been looking for it for so long and there's nothing. Gu Xiao was so tired that he couldn't even lift his feet. He was quite cold when he first came in, but after walking for such a long time, his whole body became warm, and there was even a thin layer of sweat on his back, which was very uncomfortable. He just wants to lie in the bathtub and take a hot bath, and then sit down and have a big meal comfortably. He was excited when he came, but he wanted to quit as soon as he got started. So why on earth did he come to suffer this? Thinking about the big meal, he became even hungrier, so he simply took out a pack of braised beef from his backpack. Take a big bite and the taste is so good. After finishing eating, he licked his fingers and suddenly found that the other three were looking at him. Tisk, do you want to eat? Just say so. Gu Xiao took out another pack, tore it open, and brought it to Shen Yizi and the other three, gave them a sniff, and quickly took it back. TCH, you guys were still laughing at me when I chose snacks before, But now you know that I am how prescient, right? It's too late to eat. After saying this, he took a big bite of meat, and it tasted delicious. The audience was so hungry. Nima, I was so hungry when I saw it, I immediately drank a bucket of deluxe version of braised beef noodles. I'd like the second young master to have the same kind of beef. I really wanted to eat meat too, but I looked at my belly and drank a large glass of water silently. Gu Xiao's behavior of eating snacks unexpectedly triggered a wave of craze. In addition, this is originally a food show. Although so far, the only thing that has appeared in the camera is a pack of braised beef, but this does not affect everyone's enthusiasm for food. They have discussed it and speculated that the show will be in the future. What delicious food appears! Gu Xiao finished eating a pack of braised beef again and was drinking a bottle of sour yogurt when he suddenly saw a small snowball under the tree not far away moving, and then moving again. He squinted his eyes and slowly approached, but the snowball ran away quickly. Holy shit, this is a rabbit, don't run! He hurriedly chased after him. He was imagining how to make various kinds of rabbit meat, such as roasted rabbit meat, braised rabbit meat, stir-fried rabbit meat, etc. He suddenly felt energetic and ran very fast after the rabbit's butt. However, in this snow, how can ordinary people outrun rabbits? In the end, Gu Xiao could only watch the rabbit disappear from his sight, with endless sadness in his eyes. As he walked back with his head drooped, he caught a glimpse of a dark hole from the corner of his eye. Hole. Zhizzy, I found a hole. The cave is in a very inconspicuous place. It is blocked by a large stone half a man's height outside. It is covered with snow, layer after layer, like a big oval ice cream. It blocks most of the entrance of the cave, leaving it barely visible. Leave a gap for one person to enter sideways. It was also Gu Xiao's good luck and sharp eyesight, otherwise he really wouldn't have been able to spot it. Shen Yizi reached out with his spiritual consciousness and found that the cave was very clean, with no traces of living creatures, and the space was not small, enough for the four of them to move around. But she still had to put on a show, so she rolled a ball of snow and threw it in, but there was no movement from inside. It seems it's safe inside, she said seriously. Gu Swiding squeezed her hand secretly, this girl was pretending to be like one. Shen Yizi lowered his eyes and smiled. After entering the cave, a few people tidied up, leaving Shen Yizi to look after the house while the other three went separately to look for ingredients. Shen Yizi picked up branches from nearby and used them to make a fire. These branches are wet and heavy, so you must not light a fire directly, otherwise the suffocating smoke will fill the entire cave. She cast a water collection spell to collect all the water in the branches, so that the fire would become dry. She started a fire easily. Under the illumination of the fire, the cave immediately became much brighter and warmer. Shen Yizi unfolded the folding cupboard, took out a small pot with a capacity of 3 liters, went outside to shovel a pot of snow, came back and set it on the fire to burn. This way, Gu Swiding and the others will be able to drink a sip of hot water when they come back. Gu Swiding was the first to come back. Although it took the least time, he still had a lot of prey in his hands, including a snow hare, a snow chicken, and a bunch of fat fish as big as a palm. Shen Yizi went up to meet him and was pleasantly surprised when he saw what was in his hand. Here, drink a cup of hot water. She scooped up a cup of hot water and handed it to him. The cup is a disposable paper cup in the cupboard, but it is just right to use it at this time. When Ji Chen came back, Shen Yizi and Gu Swiding had already prepared the ingredients and started cooking, braised rabbit, stewed snow chicken, and grilled fatty fish. Shen Yizi was busy at the simple stove, and Gu Swiding was sitting by the fire, grilling a fish in his hand. There was an indescribable warmth between the two of them. Ji Chen, are you back? Come and warm yourself by the fire. Shen Yizi noticed him and greeted him hurriedly, while handing over a glass of hot water. Ji Chen brought back a hibernating snake, which was as thick as a wrist and covered in snow-white body. Shen Yizi was shocked when she saw it. Although she was no longer an ordinary person, she still had no love for cold-blooded animals like snakes. Ji Chen threw the snake into the corner. The snake had been killed by him. It was frozen and no longer a threat. The last one to come back was Gu Xiao. It took him the longest time, but he found the least ingredients, only a handful of mushrooms, and he didn't know if they could be eaten. Compared with the other two, he felt that he was so useless. However, his depressed expression caught the eyes of netizens, and the barrage was filled with ha ha ha. I was thinking it would be nice if there were mushrooms, otherwise the chicken soup would be a bit boring, but by chance, Gu Xiao, you brought it back. Shen Yizi took the mushrooms over and checked them. He determined that they were non-toxic and edible. After washing them, he put them into a pot of chicken soup. The scent wafted out and filled the entire cave, so fragrant that several people couldn't help but sniff. Gu Xiao stretched his neck and looked around, asking every few minutes, "Zizi, are you okay? Can you eat? Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome." Author, 955. Chapter 718. The grilled fish was cooked first. Gu Swiding handed the largest one to Shen Yizi, and the remaining 3 were divided among several people. Gu Xiao couldn't wait to take a bite, and his eyebrows almost fell off because he was so beautiful, great. He didn't care to talk and kept eating. What about the other 3 people? Yazi looks delicious. I also want to eat grilled fish. My takeaway is still on its way. The barrage is so dense that it's hard to see clearly the live broadcast inside. While the blue team is enjoying the food, what is the red team doing? They are still struggling to find a cave to live in. The time shown on the prompter has reached 5 o'clock, and it will be night soon. However, the surrounding brightness did not change at all, making people unable to feel the passage of time at all. At a certain moment, Wang Yuyi stepped on the air and fell into the underground cave. Yan Ran and the other 3 were startled and hurriedly ran to the entrance of the cave. You 2 stay here, I'll go down and take a look. Yan Ran took out a string of climbing ropes from her hiking bag, tied a circle around her waist, and tied the other end to a big tree. Be careful, Qin Jin told him. The viewers watching the live broadcast were shocked. It's too scary, nothing will happen to our viewer, right? Yan Ran says he despises our viewer, but actually he still cares about our viewer. Does this count as finding the cave and completing the mission in an alternative way? Fortunately, Wang Yuyi was not injured in the fall. She was deeply moved when she saw Yan Ran coming down to look for her. Yan Ran, hold me tight, don't let go, I won't care if you fall again. Wang Yuyi couldn't help but nod, burying her head in his neck, feeling unprecedentedly happy at this moment. Not long after coming up from the cave, night arrived, and several people clearly felt that the temperature dropped by more than 10 degrees in an instant. It was still nighttime, and as time went by, the temperature would only get lower and lower, and they didn't have a cave to protect them from the wind. Qin Jin looked at Zhao Song, who was shivering in the cold beside him, and said, "Let's give up." The other 3 people had no objections. However, at the moment when the red button was pressed, they were not sent out, they still stayed where they were. At the same time, the live broadcast ball that had been filming beside them suddenly dimmed and fell straight from the sky, as if the power was cut off. The entire live broadcast room exploded immediately. Huo Jingj, who was outside the court, learned about the situation, his expression changed, and he immediately said, "Quick, emergency personnel, enter the snow country immediately for search and rescue." However, when the space door opened, what appeared in front of them was not the snow country, but a completely unfamiliar scene. The space landing point was unknowingly tampered with. Snow country. In the cave, Shen Yizi and the 4 of them had a delicious meal and were satisfied. I wonder what the situation is like on the red team's side, Gu Xiao thought. At this moment, the live ball flashed a few times and hit the ground. Several people looked at each other. Goose Whitting picked up the live broadcast ball, looked at it, and concluded, the space magnetic field has fluctuated and it is scrapped. He looked at the reminder on his wrist and found that it was indeed unusable. No matter how hard he pressed it, there was no movement. Goose Yao's heart felt cold. What should we do now? Can we still go out? Goose Whitting did not answer him, but looked outside the cave. Outside the cave, there was a powerful being approaching. His spiritual sense detected that it was the star beast that came to Blue Star hundreds of years ago but disappeared. Mao, two huge wings sprouted from his back, and with a slight flap, a small tornado set off around him. It is worth noting that there is a person sitting on its back, a woman. It is Mi Yang. And Goose Whitting also recognized her at this moment. Since he woke up in this world, he has been trying to find Mi Yang, but she has been hiding well. Unexpectedly, now she shows up on her own initiative. Mi Yang came in this time with Shen Yizi in mind. She thought this was an excellent opportunity. Goose Whitting was not with Shen Yizi, and she committed suicide to enter such a small space. Now, this small space has been closed by the star beast under her seat, and Shen Yizi cannot escape even if he has wings. When she thought that Shen Yizi would die in her hands, Mi Yang couldn't wait. She tapped her fingers on the star beast, "Give it to me and blast them out." The star beast obeyed the order and collapsed the cave where Shen Yizi and the others were living with one kick. However, several people had been warned by Goose Whitting, so they were not buried inside, but rushed out in time. However, the next second, the star beast stepped down again, like a big mountain pressing down. Looking at the ground being flattened by the star beasts and the snowflakes flying, Mi Yang felt a sense of joy in her heart. She jumped down from the star beast and prepared to take a closer look at Shen Yizi's miserable death. However, when she got closer, she only saw a blur of flesh and blood. "Tisk, you died so thoroughly." Mi Yang was a little disappointed when she didn't see what she wanted to see. Suddenly, the smile on her face was frozen, and the smile twisted into panic. Because she saw the man who terrified her from the depths of her soul appeared in front of her. Goose Whitting. Didn't he go abroad? How would it appear here? Not good. Samsara Pan realized that something was wrong and was about to take Mi Yang out of the current world and go to the next world just like the previous time, only to find that space and time were imprisoned in this realm. It immediately made the decision to abandon the human-shaped container. Mi Yang broke away from her body, and was about to sink into the void. This area can contain Mi Yang, but it cannot contain its maker. What it doesn't know is that Goose Whitting has been waiting for this exact moment. With a move of his hand, he grabbed the reincarnation disc that had escaped into the void. Samsara Pan only had time to utter a single syllable of extreme shock before it was crushed to pieces by Goose Whitting, unable to put it together anymore. The reincarnation disc was destroyed and the current world collapsed instantly. Goose Whitting, Shen Yizi, and Mei Yang who were trapped in it were immediately thrown out and reappeared in the real world. The flow of time in the reincarnation disc is different from that in the outside world. Goose Whitting and Shen Yizi spent 7 lives in it, while only a few days passed in the outside world. It was night at this time, and the surrounding area was reflected in a clear world of ice and snow, like a world of glass. There is no one on the lake anymore. Goose Whitting stood on the ice with Shen Yizi in his arms, while Mi Yang, who had snatched Xiao Lizu away, lay helplessly on the ground. Due to the sudden backlash of the reincarnation disc, her soul was severely damaged and she no longer had the strength to stand up. Goose Whitting raised his hand to take Mi Yang's demon soul out of Xiao Lizu's body, and a cluster of light blue flames emerged from his palm. Mi Yang exclaimed, "Lu Li Jing Hua. That is the flame that can burn away all dark and filthy things, and is the nemesis of their monsters." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 719. Mi Yang was burned by the glazed pure fire and couldn't help but scream, roll around, and beg for mercy. Unfortunately, Gu Swiding didn't show any emotion at all, and always looked at her with indifferent eyes. On the other side, Shen Yizi picked up Xiao Lizu from the ground and injected a spiritual power into her body to prevent her body from freezing. No matter how unwilling Mi Yang was, her demonic soul was burned away little by little. In the end, what remained in Gu Swiding's palm was Xiao Lizu's pure soul that had not been completely swallowed and assimilated by Mi Yang. Gu Swiding sent this ray of soul into Xiao Lizu's body. Although the soul has returned, it has been damaged due to the previous twists and turns. After waking up, Xiao Lizu will probably forget everything about the past. But if you can save a life, you are lucky. Shen Yizi felt her pulse and found out that Xiao Lizu's frailty was brought about from her mother's womb and was a congenital defect. Unless she took pills like the good fortune pill, there was no way to cure it, so she could only take good care of her. Shen Yizi looked at Gu Swiding and said, "Let's go, let's send her back." Gu Swiding raised his hand like brushing aside a curtain, tearing open a crack in the space and leading her in. When they came out again, the two of them were already above Xiao Mansion. "Go, I'll wait for you here." Gu Swiding touched Shen Yizi's cheek with the back of his hand. Although Shen Yizi didn't know where Xiao Lizu's boudoir was, the layout of the inner houses of large families was similar. She carried Xiao Lizu and went straight to the inner courtyard, explored it with her spiritual sense, and found the location. Although Xiao Lizu disappeared for a few days, everything in the house was the same as when she was there. There was still a fire dragon burning underground. As soon as he stepped into the house, a warm aroma hit his face. It shows that she is very valued at home. A beautiful woman with a haggard look was sitting on the couch, staring blankly in the direction of the bed, crying silently. A woman next to her comforted her, "Madam, the lady is lucky and will be fine. Please stop crying, lest you hurt your eyes. When the lady comes back and sees her, I wonder how she will feel distressed." This beautiful woman who cried silently was Xiao Lizu's mother. She closed her eyes and shook her head, "Let's go." She knew in her heart that her pearl would never come back, but she still couldn't help but have extravagant hopes. Just as she was about to walk out of the room, there was a sudden noise in the house. Mrs. Xiao stopped and looked at her maid, "Mother Zhen, did you hear anything?" Zhenyang nodded, "I heard it." "Madam, please wait a moment. I will go and take a look right now." "I'll go with you." Mrs. Xiao couldn't wait to walk into the house. When she saw Xiao Lizu lying on the bed, Mrs. Xiao froze in disbelief. "Zuer." She was a little dizzy with excitement and took 2 steps back, almost unable to stand. Fortunately, Zhenyang supported her. She held Zhenyang's hand tightly. "Zhenyang, have you seen it?" Zhenyang couldn't help but nodded, "I have seen this, madam. The young lady is back and she is lying on the bed. Let's go over and take a look." Mrs. Xiao couldn't bear it anymore and threw herself in front of the bed. When she touched her daughter's warm skin, she was really sure that her pearl was back. Shen Yizi, who was hiding aside, felt sad when he saw this scene. He put a storage bag containing several bottles of Yang Yuan Dan at the foot of the bed and left quietly. Gu Swiding stood in the air above the ridge of the roof. When he saw Shen Yizi coming, he stretched out his hand towards her from a distance, took her extended hand in his palm, and pulled her into his arms with a little force. The next moment, the two of them appeared in the room where they lived in the Gu mansion. Gu Swiding lowered his head to eagerly search for her lips. Shen Yizi also put her arms around his neck. The moment their lips touched, their souls trembled. They are like 2 blazing flames, colliding fiercely together, inspiring an exciting light. Sometimes blending, sometimes tolerating, interweaving thousands of intimate gestures, and finally melting together. The cold wind is howling outside and the snow is white, but inside, there is warmth and endless charm and lingering. The next day, Shen Yizi naturally got up late, and Gu Swiding rarely got up and stayed in bed with her. In such a winter day, with each other's skin touching each other and sleeping with their necks crossed, both of them felt an indescribable sense of satisfaction. Shen Yizi lazily turned over in Gu Swiding's arms and lay on his chest. Gu Swiding pushed her up so that the two of them were closer together. He closed his eyes and stroked the top of her hair with his chin. He kissed her cool ear, smiled softly, his chest shook slightly, and with a hoarse, low voice, he teased her ears. Shen Yizi also laughed involuntarily. Laughing for a while, she stood up from his chest, lowered her head and bit his lip. He took advantage of the situation and kissed her. Seeing that the kiss was going downwards, a meatball suddenly rolled out and hit the bed. It is Qingbao. He had tried several times before but failed to come out of the space. Unexpectedly, he succeeded this time. He was at a loss for a moment, then turned around to see his father and mother, and immediately rushed over excitedly, "Dad! Mother! Why haven't you come to see Qingbao these days? Qingbao misses you so much." Shen Yizi wrapped the quilt around his body, hugged the little guy who rushed towards him, and rubbed his face. "Mother, you miss us Qingbao so much." Although only a few days have passed in the real world, she has actually spent 7 lives in the reincarnation disc. Each life can be as short as a few days or as long as decades. These times are all real, so long. Did she want to die without seeing her little baby? She just paid it off when she didn't see him, but now that she was holding her baby son's milky-smelling little body in her arms, her heart almost melted. Gu Swiding missed her no less. He stretched out his long arms and hugged the mother and son together. When Gu 11 got the news and rushed over, she heard a burst of children's cheers and screams from a distance. He stepped into the courtyard and saw Shen Yizi playing in the snow with 3 fat dolls wrapped into balls. One of the fat dolls is building a snowman seriously and adding facial features to the snowman. The other 2 made snowballs and threw them at Shen Yizi. "Okay, you 2 gang up to bully me, Yuanbao, come help mother beat them," Shen Yizi shouted to Yuanbao who was making a snowman. At the call of his mother, Yuanbao ran over to join her camp, regardless of the fact that he had not yet put a nose on the snowman. The senior and 3 children were playing crazy in the snow. Gu Swiding stood in the corridor under the eaves with his hands folded, watching with a smile. Noticing Gu 11, he nodded towards him. Gu 11 calmed down his breathing and walked over, but halfway there, a snowball fell from the sky and hit him. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 720. This snowball that accidentally injured people outside the field came from the thoughts floating in the air. Before Gu 11 looked over, she hurriedly floated behind Shen Yizi and hid, trying not to let Gu 11 find her. Gu 11 turned around, Qingbao and Yuanbao shook their heads and waved their hands in unison, indicating that they were not the ones who smashed it. Gu 11's eyes fell on Shen Yizi, but he noticed a corner of the bright red skirt hidden behind her. He chuckled lightly, brushed off the snow on his body, strode over, and took out the ostrich's thoughts. He deliberately darkened his face. "If it hits me, I'll hide, huh?" Nian subconsciously looked towards Shen Yizi, only to see her spreading her hands and making a helpless expression. Nian could only face it by herself. She raised her eyes and glanced at Gu 11, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it." Gu 11 poked her soft and rosy cheeks with his fingers. He felt that she was extremely cute, but he continued to pretend to be a bad person on his face. "You didn't mean it? Then why are you hiding?" Nian pouted and frowned. "Then what do you want?" Gu 11 smiled and said, "Call my brother to come and listen, and I will forgive you." Nian rejected him seriously. "No, I'm older than you, how can I call you brother?" The short, Fat little Lolita with 3 heads and body actually said she was older than him. Gu 11 couldn't help it anymore and burst out laughing. Nian looked confused. Why did this person suddenly laugh? Shenyazi Shi Shiren said to Gu 11, don't believe it, Nian is indeed older than you. Gu 11's laughter stopped suddenly. She looked at Nian and then at Shenyazi, little aunt, please don't coax me. Shenyazi led Nian toward the house. What did I lie to you for? She gave a rough summary of Nian's situation, and then Gu 11 realized that she really hadn't lied to him. He looked at Nian, his eyes unconsciously filled with pity. In the house, the brazier was burning brightly. 3 adults and 3 children sat down around the brazier to warm themselves up. Even though there was a formation in the house and it wasn't cold at all, Shenyazi still felt that it was winter. How could it be justified without a fire? However, there was no need to wear so much in the house. She first took off the outer cloak herself, and then worked with Gu Switting to help the 3 younger ones take off their outer thick clothes. Beside the brazier, several chubby sweet potatoes were almost roasted, with their skin slightly charred and a sweet aroma of starch permeating the air. Shenyazi took out one, wrapped it in oil paper, cut a hole in the middle, and handed it to Nian. He also gave her a spoon in her hand to make it easier for her to eat and avoid burning her mouth. Nian put the sweet potato on her lap, holding it with her little chubby hand, while digging the sweet potato carefully with the other hand and bringing it to her mouth. She ate in a hurry and was obviously burned, but she couldn't bear to spit it out and couldn't hold her tongue. Tilting upside down, the little expression is so cute. Gu 11 was itching to see her, so she picked her up and put her on her lap. Can I feed you? Of course, it is more convenient to be fed by someone than to eat by yourself. Nian handed over the spoon without hesitation, and warned uneasily, you are not allowed to eat secretly. Why is this little thing so cute? Gu 11 smiled sullenly, her chest trembling, okay, I won't steal anything, I'll feed it to you. The tone was unconsciously doting. On the other side, Qingbao, Yuanbao and their parents were already eating hot sweet potatoes. Uncle, what happened between you and Aunt before? Gu 11 asked while feeding Nian. Gu Switting explained the whole story in a simple sentence. Xiao Lizu was taken away by the succubus. I don't know how to get the reincarnation disc, and pulled me and Zizi into it. We experienced several worlds in it. I found the right opportunity to break the reincarnation disc. Only then can we come out with knowledge. Shenyazi added, the reincarnation disc can create complete false worlds, sealing people's memories and arranging new memories. If you are not careful, you may get lost in it. In the first few worlds, I thought I was the people in that world didn't realize anything was wrong. They still had to wait until the 6th world to awaken their memories, but it would be useless if they were restored in the next world. Gu 11 didn't expect that things would turn out like this, and she was quite shocked. For a moment, her hand was slow and she was patted by Nian. When he came back to his senses, he saw the little girl staring at him dissatisfied. He couldn't help but laugh and continued to feed her. After eating the sweet potatoes, the 3 little guys couldn't sit still and ran outside to play again. Shenyazi hurriedly grabbed them. Wait a minute, put on your coat first. It will be easier for you if you get cold. Gu 11 told Gu Switting about the situation in the imperial capital. I received news that His Majesty suffered a sudden stroke and was lying in bed unable to move. Now the government has fallen into the hands of the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince is forming factions for personal gain, excluding dissidents, and seems to regard himself as the emperor. He snorted lightly. Gu Switting's expression was very calm when he heard this, as if he had expected it. If you want to make it die, you must first make it crazy. You don't need to do anything for the time being, and wait for a while. That position will be yours sooner or later. This is the first time he has given him a clear guarantee. Gu 11 smiled slowly. The hot pot made by Shenyazi at noon. It's snowy outside and the cold wind is blowing. It's so refreshing to have a hot pot meal in a warm house. Not long after, the situation in the imperial capital changed again. The prince felt that he had great power and the time was ripe, so he forced his way into the palace. He stormed into the emperor's palace and forced him to give up his throne. It was not accurate to say that he was forced. After all, the emperor had suffered a severe stroke and could not even eat, drink or relieve himself. He had no ability to resist, the prince just came to inform him. Unexpectedly, at this moment, the emperor, who was originally judged by the imperial doctor to be confined to bed for the rest of his life, recovered without any warning. He sat up from the bed and glared at the prince with blazing eyes. The prince was startled at first and felt uncontrollable fear. Thinking of what he had done recently, he decided to kill the emperor without stopping. At this moment, the imperial commander rushed over and restrained the prince and the people he brought. A palace change ended dramatically like this. The prince was so rebellious that he tried to kill the king and usurp the throne. His crime was unpardonable. The emperor directly threw the prince into prison, waiting for the best outcome for him, which was also to be imprisoned for life. After dealing with the prince, the emperor fell down again before he could take a breath. This time, there is really no hope. So a serious issue was placed in front of the ministers. Who should be the next emperor? It is funny to say that the emperor has 6 princes in total. It stands to reason that he has a lot of sons. However, except for the prince born by the queen, none of the other princes are interested in the throne.